Okay, so Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Today we move on to our next shloka, 4.42. We will have a very interesting, engaging discussion around what is the difference between knowledge and wisdom, and how do we go about bridging the gap between the two. And interestingly or coincidentally, that is the part of our soul soup segment as well. We introduced yesterday that 50% of the battle is theory and remaining 50% is the practical implementation of it. So we will continue from there and then get into the topic of our discussion as part of our Bhagavad Gita discussion as well. So let me pull up my screen. We will get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru. Are you able to see my screen? Okay, so we'll get started with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsuchanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. Okay, so Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening to all of you. So let's get started like we always do with our soul soup segment. So as part of our soul soup segment, we are talking about happiness, success, happiness, and fulfillment series, right? So we will continue with that. So cultivation of knowledge. Like I said, coincidentally, that's the topic here today as well. We're going to talk about knowledge and wisdom. So it's imperative on human beings to cultivate knowledge because we have been given the power of discernment, discretion. Animals don't have that. They don't have that ability. They follow the script or the program that is nature has endowed, God has given them as part of the Bhogyoni, but we have that discretion and it is obligatory upon us to acquire knowledge. It's more so important because we said that this whole journey, 50% is theory and 50% is practical. So once we have a firm footing or good knowledge, then we can, it's easy for us to bridge that gap between the knowledge and the practical implementation part of it. Now, you might be implementing something, but you might be solving a problem. But if you're solving a wrong problem or solving the problem incorrectly, then also it doesn't help. So it's important that you have the right knowledge, right foundation, so that your efforts, they bear fruit, right fruit, and they are not a futile exercise or an exercise that you may have to undo down the line. That is why this is important. Now, how do we bridge the gap? So our scriptures tell us that it's a three-step process. What is that? Chintan, Manan, and Nididhyasana. Okay, we will go into much more detail as part of our Bhagavad Gita discussion as well. But let me introduce this concept. So Chintan is, when we get introduced to some concept, some knowledge, we think about it, right? We try to understand it, and that is how the process starts. We are thinking about it, and you are, trying to understand the concepts. So once that starts making sense, then you start contemplating upon it, which is the manan aspect of it, deeper thinking. You start deeply thinking about that concept until it gets to the third. It's like the rumination they talk about, like the cow does the rumination when it is chews the grass. Similarly, you repeatedly contemplate upon that concept. Okay, what does it say? How can I benefit from it? What do I stand to lose if I don't implement it? All those concepts you do, so that becomes part of your contemplation until it reaches the third stage, which is called Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana is where your intellect says, yes, this is the right knowledge. So you become intellectually convinced. And then, of course, either because you get a realization by implementing that knowledge, or basically, that becomes part of your DNA at that point, where you're intellectually convinced this is it, this is what I need to do, and this is the way forward for me. So this is how the process unfolds. All starts with the chintan, then you contemplate upon it, deeper thinking, and then it starts becoming your second nature, which is the nididhyasana aspect of it, where you can implement it. It becomes a realized knowledge, and you are intellectually convinced. You don't deliberate, or you don't um, think about whether it would benefit me or not. It's like you just know it. So this is the three-step process. Now let's get into that. Like I said, incidentally, this is the topic of our discussion in our shloka today as well. I'm going to recite it. You're welcome to follow along. We'll take a few participants, and then we get into deeper aspect of what is the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Right? We'll look at some references and go really deep into this topic. So I'm going to recite it, and you're welcome to follow along. तस्मादज्ञानसम्भूतम् हृत्स्थं ज्ञानासिनात्मनः चित्वैनं संशयं योगम् आतिष्ठोतिष्ठ भारत. Okay, let's take a few hands.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Shyamji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Tasmad jnana sambhutam shritastham jnana sinatmanaha chitvenam sanchayam yogam atishto tishtat bharata. Radhe Radhe.
You, Shyamji, Radhe Radhe. Okay, so I want you to keep your thinking caps on today, because when we get into our discussion around, what are some of the things that pose as an impediment from knowledge getting translated into wisdom, we will relate to some practical scenarios and see how we can bridge that gap. And it's a very practical discussion. Okay, although these concepts are pretty lofty in Bhagavad Gita, but we should not stop there itself. They actually translate to some practical nuggets for our day-to-day lives as well, regardless of which profession that we are in. So that is where we're going to spend a lot of time as we go along in today's discussion. So let's take a few more hands and then we get into the discussion.
Yes, Dinesh ji, Radhe Radhe. Please
Hi,
go ahead.
Dinesh.
राधे राधे तस्माद् अज्ञानसम्भूतं तस्तं ज्ञानासीनात्मनः चित्वैनं संशयं योगं तिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ भारत.
Nice.
राधे राधे.
Dinesh, Radhe Radhe. Okay, let's take a few more hands.
Aparna ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. तस्मादज्ञानसम्भूतं हृत्स्नं ज्ञानासिनात्मनः चित्वैनं संशयं योगम् आतिष्ठोतिष्ठ भारत. Thank you.
Okay, let's take maybe two more hands. Three more. Okay, let's freeze the number of hands. Three more hands.
Ragi ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Ragi ji.
Radhe Radhe, thank you. तस्मात् ज्ञानसम्भूतं हित्सं ज्ञानासिनात्मनः चित्वेनं संशयं योगम् आतिष्ठोतिष्ठ भारत.
Thank you. Riya ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Riya ji.
Radhe Radhe. तस्मात् अज्ञानसम्भूतं हृत्स्नं ज्ञानासिनात्मनः चित्वैनं संशयं योगम् आतिष्ठोतिष्ठ भारत.
Very nice. Thank you, Riya ji. Last but not the least, Sandhya, go ahead.
तस्मात् अज्ञानसम्भूतं हृतस्थं ज्ञानासिनात्मनः चित्वैनं संशयं योगम् आतिष्ठोतिष्ठ भारत.
Very nice. Okay, I see one more hand. Yes, Uday ji, please go ahead. Last one.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Tasmad ajnanasambhutam hृत्स्थं ज्ञानासीन आत्मनः चित्वैनं संशयं योगम् Tistotishta Bharata. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. So let's get started. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna is telling Arjun, therefore, with the sword of knowledge, he's using the word as sword, right? Sword cuts something. What does it cut? It cut asunder the doubts that have arisen in your heart. So how do we remediate or alleviate the doubts that we have? When we were studying, through knowledge, we alleviate the doubt, right? We don't understand something, and then the knowledge comes, and then that bulb lights up in our head, and through knowledge, so that is why knowledge is used, referred to as a sword. And then he says, O son of Bharat, establish yourself in Karam Yoga, arise, stand up, and take action. Okay, so he's calling him to action to do Karam Yoga. Now, Karam Yoga is not something doing karma. A lot of people think everybody thinks basically in India, I'm doing Karam Yoga. Doesn't work like that. Just doing act is not a Karam Yoga. Right? Act in proper consciousness is called Karam Yoga. We have spent a good amount of time on this topic, right? What takes you from a binding karma to a non-binding karma, like we discussed yesterday. So let's move on and see the knowledge aspect of it today, right? So knowledge versus wisdom. Let's talk about a story. Here's a parrot. Okay. So you see this parrot. So it is perched nicely, comfortably on a branch. And a wise man comes and tells this parrot that a hunter may come with a net to trap, but don't fall for it. Okay. Told it to the parrot. So the parrot said, got it. And the parrot repeats after him. He says, hunter may come with a net to trap, don't fall for it. Now, as the luck would have it, a hunter actually comes. And sure enough, it has a net as well. So when the hunter comes and the parrot sees it with a net, you know what? The parrot says, a hunter may come with a net to trap and don't fall for it. It repeats what it was being told. Now, guess what happens? The hunter puts the net around the parrot. Parrot gets trapped. Did you see how it got trapped there? But while it is getting trapped, it is still saying a hunter may come with a net to trap, don't fall for it. And then while the hunter is caught the parrot, right? That is why he got the net there. Now he's carrying the carrot, and parrot keeps on reciting the same thing, that hunter will come and with a net to trap, don't fall for it. And finally it ends up in a cage, and while in the cage as well, it is saying a hunter may come with a net to trap, don't fall for it. Now, the point here is, what's the point of that knowledge? It's a parrot, right? So you can't expect anything better than that. But as humans, we do the same. We have all the knowledge. We keep on getting from all the quarters. We understand it. हम जानते हैं, like in Hindi say, but मानते नहीं. So we have all the knowledge. We listen to it. We say, yeah, it sounds good. It makes sense. And then our mind will give us an excuse. But who will do that? Who needs to do that? And who has seen life after death, right? So what's the point? So we take it easy, right? So the point is that knowledge remains a mere information in our head and nothing happens. There's no benefit we derive out of it. It just remains there. So let's move on. What does Mr. Einstein has to say about this? He says that information is not knowledge. Information is mere information. You can collect as much information as you want. The only source of knowledge is experience. You need experience to gain wisdom. So somehow you need to bridge that gap, translate that knowledge into wisdom. That is the key. Then it starts becoming beneficial for us. And otherwise, it simply remains an information. Like in people who are in IT profession, they would know, right? There's a lot of emphasis on data. Collect data from here, from there, and everywhere. You keep on collecting data, what's the point? Now, if you collect that data and start making sense out of it, okay, what does it mean? This data mean? Then it starts becoming knowledge, right? So and then when you apply certain models on top of it, like there's a huge emphasis on AI ML today, artificial intelligence and machine learning, you derive, take it through certain models. And when you gain insights out of that model and do something about it, right? A lot of all the companies, they generate analytics and data around what we do. And then they utilize to capture the share of our wallet by selling their stuff, right? That means now that knowledge has become wisdom, either through machine learning or however, where you can utilize and apply that knowledge for something meaningful. So otherwise, data remains simply data. It's a mere information. What do you do with that? So first you need to convert it into something meaningful, which is knowledge. And then once you start generating insights and start utilizing it, then it becomes experience and then it becomes a wisdom. And that's the whole idea. So same thing goes in spirituality as well. There are so many concepts we come across. Now they are appealing, sure enough. But then we have to do something extra with that as well, right? Take it to the next step and make it a wisdom, make it a part of our day-to-day lives, and start reaping benefits out of it. If you know all the recipes and we have never tasted any of the stuff using that recipe, what's the point? Now, in the story that I spoke about, it is a parrot. It doesn't know anything better. But as a human beings, we are expected to exercise discretion because we are endowed with that ability. Like in Spider-Man, they say, with great power comes great responsibility. If we keep on leading an animalistic life, then we are not doing ourselves a big favor. Now, if it was just one life, we should have, all right, what's the point? I mean, that's fine. I'll enjoy it to the max. And then who has seen anything, right? But our scriptures tell us, no, don't take it that way. After that, it's not like you have not seen, you'll have to go through all this stuff. And this human life is also not something you can take for granted. You will keep on doing the tourism of 8.4 million and then the opportunity is lost. So utilize the knowledge that you get, convert it into wisdom and start reaping the benefits out of it. Otherwise, it's a mere information that you have. Now, what is the biggest gap? Now, in the material world, if you look at it here, see, there are two cliffs and there's a bit of a gap in those cliffs. Now, gap is a relative term, right? I mean, depending upon where you are and where you plan to travel, point A to point B. Now, the gap could be between Earth and Moon or Earth and Sun and stuff like that. But it is said that from a scriptural standpoint, one of the biggest gaps that we have is the gap between knowledge and wisdom. It is the biggest divide, so to say, um, with regards to human life. We have all the lot of information at our disposal. We have also come across the pieces of knowledge, but we have not been able to bridge that gap. Why? Because of multiple reasons. We'll get into those reasons as well. Only when we fill in that divide or we bridge in that gap, and in order to do that, it requires a big leap, right? Like you see, a leap is needed to bridge that gap. Now, there could be multiple reasons why we are not able to take the leap, right? There's a Chinese saying that even a 10,000 or a 1,000-mile journey starts with a small step. But that small step is the most important and the most difficult one as well. That is where a lot of people stop, which is an unfortunate part. And ironically, one of the only animal who is endowed with discretion is the one who's not able to use discretion when it is most needed, which is human beings. We are a social animal, but even though have that ability, but we are not able to use that discretion when we need it most. Right? People say, don't worry. There are so many WhatsApp forwards that come. People say it's not good to get angry, but when the moment presents itself, are we able to do that or not? We are not able to, right? Because we have not thought sufficiently about that topic. So we have not taken it through the three-step process of Chintan, Manan, and Nididhyasan. If we have done that, then we are able to draw in that knowledge when we are really need it and get benefit out of it. So today's discussion is going to be around how do we bridge the divide between knowledge and wisdom. Because Lord Krishna is saying it's only through knowledge. So when he talks about knowledge, he means realized knowledge. Can you cut asunder the chains of ignorance? That is the only way forward. If you continue to choose to live in ignorance, it's no what do you call that? Ignorance is not a bliss. Fire will do its job. Whether a child puts his hand in the fire knowingly or it does it unknowingly. Out of ignorance, fire will do its job. Similarly, spiritual laws will do their job. Law of karma will do its job. If you're not subscribing to certain things and frittering away life, everything comes at a price. And the right knowledge and bridging that divide is the key for success, happiness, and fulfillment, not only in this life, but in lifetimes thereafter as well. Now, if this gap, this divide is pretty large, some are able to fill it, within this lifetime. It could take maybe few years. Some are able to bridge this gap maybe in multiple lifetimes. Some can take more lifetimes. So the point is there is no plan B. You have to bridge that gap. Unless we have realized knowledge, we will keep rotating here and there is no plan B. And if you don't learn it, if you don't acquire wisdom systematically, then Maya, which is an energy of God or the servant of God, will make you learn it the hard way. right? It's a university of hard knocks. Either you learn it smartly, or Maya has its own way of teaching you, in the hard way. How does it teach you hard way? By, throwing curveballs at you and giving you disappointments, giving you miseries periodically. That will happen. Maya has its own way of teaching you the lessons by telling you this is not the right place, because our priorities are misaligned at this point. So let's move on and talk about, okay, brain versus heart. Where does the doubt arise? Right? We have so many doubts that we need clarification on. So let's understand a little more about it. The use of the word heart, it is not the physical machine, in the chest that pumps blood in the body, right? Heart is the one which pumps blood in the body. The Vedas state that the physical brain is more like a hardware, in the head, but the subtle mind resides in the region of the heart. The subtle mind, even the soul, if you look at it, it resides in heart. Our scriptures tell us that the location of our soul, which is our true identity, not this body, because my body, when I say my body, that means it's not me. The location of the soul is in the heart. And the size of the soul is said that if you take the hair breadth and the tip of the hair and you divide it in 1,000 parts, I don't know how somebody can achieve that, and take one of that part and divide it further into 1,000 parts, that is how tiny soul is. And you cannot really see it through any of the physical apparatus like microscope and anything of that sort, because it's divine, but it is situated in the soul. And that is where our subtle mind resides as well. Even though the hardware is here, the subtle mind resides in the region of heart. And the testimony to that is when you experience some pleasure or pain, you see some kind of a pain or some kind of a sensation arising in this region of your heart. So that some sensation is generated here. That is why when people become extremely happy or extremely sorrowful, they can have a heart attack also, right? We cannot take that beyond a point. So something happens in your heart. That is where your subtle mind resides. So this is where, and heart is a source of all the things, that emotions that we feel: compassion, love, sympathy, and all the good emotions. And this is where Lord Krishna is mentioning that doubts have also arisen in the heart. And these doubts, basically, so it's colloquially, the mind is referred to as heart in our scriptures, because your subtle mind is part of your soul, the baggage that soul carries. So that subtle machine, and that resides in the region of the heart. And that is where the doubts come. Now we need to tackle it systematically with knowledge. The sword of knowledge that we talk about, it's because that the realized knowledge. So for example, somebody might be a gold medalist in a medical school. Now, would you go under the knife of a surgeon who's a gold medalist but does not have any experience? He's not a surgeon as yet. He's a student, a very advanced or a very good student, very intelligent student out of the medical school, but only theoretical knowledge, who has read the books about the surgery but has no practical experience. Would you risk your life with that person or with a surgeon who has a 10 years of experience? Of course, we'll do it with a surgeon, right? Experience matters. And that's because there is two kinds of knowledge, as scriptures say. The first one is a theoretical knowledge, which is Shabdik Gyan, the words that we read through or understand. And second is the wisdom or the realized knowledge, which is Anubhavatmak Gyan or Vigyan. So difference between Gyan and Vigyan is one is theory, one is a practical or a realized knowledge, right? Something that you have experienced. Once you experience something, then there's no question of not having belief in that, because you have just experienced it, right? So, but to bridge the gap between knowledge and experience, we have to do something. And we have to take that step. We have to implement that principle. We have to make effort to understand that knowledge. Without effort, nothing will happen, right? We simply say, okay, this is just too difficult, or these concepts are beyond my reach, and we never put an effort around it as well and continue to fritter away our life, then it is what a waste. You make an intent, you see the floodgates will open up, because now you are aligning to the purpose of this creation. You make a spark. Okay, I want to get this answer, and see how it opens up for you. You will get a news channel, you'll come across some article, some person will call you, or you'll get a call from someone, and then all of a sudden the floodgates will start opening up. I'm sure a lot of you would have realized it. When you start seeking the deeper questions of life, it will open up things for you. But it all starts with having that theoretical knowledge. And then you say, oh, kind of makes sense. Let me experiment with it. And when you experiment with it, it becomes realized knowledge pretty quickly. So this is how the process unfolds. Now, a word to the wise. Now we have senses, we have our mind, and we have intellect, right? So that knowledge that we learn or acquire employing the senses, mind, and intellect is theoretical knowledge. It is just a theoretical knowledge because we are seeing through our eyes, we are gathering information, what we see in news channel, what we hear from our friends, family, Google is telling us, ads are telling us, people are telling us, peers are telling us, we are hearing something. So we gather a lot of information through our senses, through our mind as well. The kind of value system we acquire from what we see around, our mind is also thinking about it and acquiring it subconsciously. And of course, our intellect, the kind of knowledge that gets activated in our intellect, we are gaining more knowledge about it. If let's say you are a sports geek, then you will somehow figure out news about cricket or whatever game interests you. So whatever our intellect is convinced about is important for us, it will automatically gather information about it. Right? People who like drinking, they will get all the brands of the latest wine and stuff that is coming up in the market, right? People who are like movies, movie buffs, they would know which next flick or that Netflix flick is going to come that needs to be binged watched, right? So it really depends on these three things that you are getting, but it is a theoretical knowledge. You need to take another step around it, right? So once you see that, then the next step is, all these things that we are talking about, this theoretical versus practical is, that is an information, but for that information, it is insufficient by itself, right? For that information to translate into wisdom, you have to experiment, or you have to take it to the next level. You have to put it to practice. Like, for example, you may be collecting all the recipes, but if you've never stepped into the kitchen or cooked anything, then that theoretical knowledge is not going to serve any purpose. Knowing the recipe of a rasgulla is not going to give you the taste of the rasgulla. You have to finally go cook and taste it as well. So that is the key. So mere information and knowledge does not help. We have to take it to the next step of translating it into a wisdom. Now, let's talk about, this is the key part where we spoke about this hunter story, right? What parrot is doing, what makes us a parrot as well. Okay, first of all, if we have become a parrot, congratulations, that itself is a big milestone. A lot of people don't even get to that stage. Okay, forget about knowledge. Who's going to acquire it? I'm happy in my bubble. Like, I think there's a quotation I came across where they said the biggest problem of humankind is that they are too busy holding on to their unworthiness. Okay, they think we are doing cool, we are doing good, everybody's doing that, so I'm doing the same, so I'm fine. So they don't even get to the stage of becoming a parrot. But let's say you have got access to right knowledge through, the spark that you had, you came across some saintly personalities and you started getting right knowledge. Then remaining at the stage of a parrot is water loss kind of a thing. We have to somehow figure out a way or make systematic efforts towards taking it to the next level of making it a wisdom so that we can get benefits out of it. Let's talk about some of the impediments. And here I would like to invite participants to come forward and share their experiences as well. I've jotted down a few things which are impediments for us to, translate this knowledge into wisdom. So let's look at some of the examples or some of the things, and if you can relate to some of it, please come forward and share your experience around it. Some of the barriers which prevent this from happening. The first one is dancing to the tunes of the mind. Okay. If you simply dance to the tunes of your mind, you will never be able to take that next step. We said, right, the 1,000 miles journey also starts with the first step, or even if you have taken a step, your mind will still play tricks with you. It is made up of material energy, right? We have spoken about. So it will always take you to material things, and your mind, it goes for pleasurable activities, not beneficial activities. And that is where it takes you to your lower nature. Lower nature says, oh, take it easy. What's the big deal? What's the hurry, right? Who has seen all that? So mind will always seek pleasure. It will not seek things which are beneficial. And that is where you have to take control of your mind and not let your mind run to the diktats of your mind. What are examples? Your feeling, your mood, your current situation is sorted out, right? These are some of the things that your mind will pose in front of you. You know what? Let me first retire and then I will make it a priority. Okay. Or try to experiment around with some of these concepts. Or I'm not feeling like doing it. My mood is not right. Right. Uh, the feelings or the mood, we give a lot of value to that. So my question, think about it. If let's say you are not in a mood to basically do something, you come across a piece of knowledge, You understand it is important, but then your mood does not cooperate with it. You've understood something. Then what do you do basically? Are you going to wait for your mood to come back again? What if it doesn't come back again? For the rest of your life, are you going to wait it out and fritter away that opportunity? Or if your feelings are not cooperating, for example, you know that it's important to do satsang or to subscribe to right kind of knowledge periodically, right? Do that repetition, and you don't feel like, maybe your bad sanskars have come, they have started triggering in, or your feelings are not supporting it. What are you going to do then? How long will you wait? And what if feelings never come? Are you going to waste this entire human life in that case? So, what our scriptures tell us that a spiritually mature person takes control of their feelings. They still do the right thing. I'll tell you about Virat Kohli. He went out of form. When he went to England tour, he went out of form, and then, in fact, that was one of his lowest phases of his career. He went into depression as well. Now, what does he do? Because he was literally demolished by a guy named James Anderson. Okay, he's a very good bowler and swinging pitches, and Virat Kohli was really sorted out in that. So he went into a very low phase of his life. Now, one thing is become a quitter. Okay, I can't do anything, and but he said, okay, no, I have to fight this situation out. So what does he do? He goes back to the fundamentals, gets to the net practice. He said it sounded very monotonous to me, but he continued doing that. Okay. And then it was just a matter of time before he ironed out the chinks because he was doing it mindfully. He understood what are his weaknesses, he made the adjustments and came back stronger and better. So much so that he did not give his wicket to the same bowler in the entire series next time around, and he scored very heavily. Right? So what did he do? He went back to the fundamentals and did not go with his mood. His mind was telling him enough of it. I can't go through this drill again. But he said, I forced my mind until he could get back there. Same thing happened with Tendulkar also, right? There was a phase in his life where something which was his bread and butter, his cover drive and the square drive, he was getting out there. Now we find it very difficult to give up rasgulla, even though it's not our staple food. He gave up that shot itself. So I think in Adelaide or something, he scored 250 runs and not even a single shot in that direction. That much discipline he had, right? Because it is a realized thing. He knows that his shelf life as a sportsman is pretty small. What is a shelf life? Shelf life means our utility, or when we have an opportunity. For example, shelf life of a newspaper is what? 1 day. If somebody gives you a newspaper of 15 days back, it's useless, right? So similarly, shelf life of a sportsman where they are at their peak is about 30, 35 years, not more than that, 35, 40 at best. He understood and he said, I don't want to waste out this opportunity. So shelf life for us as humans to progress spiritually is pretty small, right? Most of our life goes in getting a good job and then getting married and leading that template life, getting settled and all that stuff. And then mind starts making up excuses. Oh, I don't feel like it's too difficult. I'll do it when I retire, all that stuff. So we need to take control of that situation. Michael Phelps, who's an Olympian, he was telling when he used to practice beyond a point, when you practice or when you do, your body starts producing lactic acid, which actually impedes your performance. And he actually persevered through that as well because he knew if I have to win 8 or 9 Olympic golds, he will have to do back-to-back events. So he said, even though my mind was telling me not to do that, I forced it to do that. So spiritually mature people, they take control of their mind. They don't let their mind dictate what it is feeling or what their mood is. That is the first thing. And this is something that can prevent you from implementing the knowledge and making it a wisdom. The second one is the laziness and procrastination. I think there's a Sanskrit verse, right? Alasya hi manushyanam sharirastha mahan ripu. So the laziness is the biggest enemy of mankind, the procrastination habit. We will do it. Okay, it can wait out. Basically, I have time. I will catch up. We'll do it tomorrow, in future, after retirement. This is simply an excuse your mind is making up. Even if you, let's say, you had a guaranteed 100 years of life, you still have to break this habit of procrastination when you are 90 or 80. Even if you have 500 years of life, you still have to break that habit because your mind is still the same. Until your quality of mind is improved, how are you going to get over this habit all by itself, right? So scriptures tell us you repeat with your mind. Your subtle body goes along with you, which is nothing but your tendencies, your sanskars, your mind. So if you Whatever your quality of mind in this life is, you repeat with that whenever you come back as a human. Now, if you become an animal, then it becomes dormant, but when you come back as a human, it will manifest in due course of time. So if you die with certain weaknesses, whether it's related to anger or some other vice you have, you repeat with that in that life. And laziness, procrastination is another reason where we keep on postponing it. We do understand, this sounds good. A lot of people, at least I meet, they say, you know what, these things are so nice to hear, but how can we implement it? So they're not able to take that first step, or they simply say we will implement it, but right now it's not the right time. I have tons of other things that are going on, so you keep on procrastinating it. So that's another reason that can play out. The third one is complacency, not enough repetition. What is the complacency? I've heard it, I already know it, there's nothing new. Okay, don't fall for that. Now, Chaitanya Gaurang Mahaprabhu had says, when it comes to Tattva Gyan, Chit Bhale Na Karo Alas, don't be lazy around it. Don't be complacent. Never think you have understood it. Okay, your knowledge, for knowledge to become wisdom, you don't know how much repetitions you would need. It could take an entire lifetime going through the same shloka and still not being able to implement it. Okay, if we are complacent around it. So a lot of things have to fall in place. Of course, our self-effort and grace of God both have to work in conjunction for it to become a realization. But we cannot take seva from God and Guru saying, hey, make it a realization from me, like popping in a pill and hoping it will work out all by itself. We have to put in our effort. And when we put in our effort, we get the help as well. So complacency is another barrier which says, okay, I know this part, I have heard about it, so what? Until you have become God realized, you have to keep listening to it, okay, no matter how many times. And then last one is erroneous knowledge. Erroneous knowledge is I have to balance my life with other things too. Okay, you can come forward and share that with me. I mean, I've been part of this part as well. You know what, I've done my spiritual quota and I have to balance it. I have to party as well. I have to enjoy my life as well. Now, this is the biggest erroneous knowledge that we carry in our intellect. Okay, I'm a multi-dimensional person. I want to experience everything in life. Now, I'll tell you my own experience. I had three teams. I used to joke around with Swamiji as well. I said, Swamiji, I have three teams when I initially met him. Team A is my socialization team. My friend circle, we do potlucks, meet around, do party and all that stuff. This is my team A. Team B is my college team. I had done my MBA here. So those were my friends here, mostly from US and other countries because I did global MBA. So they were like my party friends. You go around and socialize with them. So that's my team B. And team C is my spiritual team where I go for satsang and do my spiritual quota. So team A, team B, team C. I never understood when the team C became team A and team A and team B vanished all by itself. Okay, I just lost interest out of them. So it happens all by itself when you start progressing on this path. It's like when you get a higher taste, you start rejecting the lower taste. And when you aim for the highest, lower starts falling all away by itself. You don't have to do anything. It all happens automatically. But this is another concept with people that they think, you know what? Spirituality is one dimension. There are other dimensions also. I want to enjoy life. We are multidimensional people, right? It's not about just doing Radhe Shyam, Sita Ram only or understanding Bhagavad Gita. We are pretty cool people. We want to do too many other things as well. This is erroneous knowledge. You keep adding this thing, other things will automatically get set in perspective. Okay, you'll understand that. You laugh at yourself, after a while, that what kind of a thing you were thinking previously, but it takes a bit of a while to get to that point. But this is erroneous knowledge that can lead to that, where you are not willing to experiment with the knowledge and translate into wisdom. These are some of the things. With that, I'll open it up to see if is there anything you can relate with, or you want to come forward and share something, or tell any other reasons which could be a possible cause for us not to take that step of taking that knowledge and converting it into wisdom that we need. Yes, Sandhya, you've raised your hand already. Go ahead, please.
Yes. So one thing that I can relate with is laziness and procrastination. I do it quite often and I need to improve. So thank you for the reminder.
We're in the same boat, okay? All of us do. Our procrastination levels vary, but the key is that yes, we have to get better at it. All of us are procrastinators for sure, but we just need to get better with time.
And second thing is about not enough repetition. So hearing the knowledge again and again. So I just wanted to ask this question. So like one way is like watching videos, other ways, attending satsang, like where you can have a two-way communication of acquiring knowledge and discussing it. Is that is a better one?
It
Or
is. There are multiple ways of acquiring knowledge. One is the top down. Top down means you're hearing it in a video because you can't interact with the video, right? Which is also good. But then if there's a choice where you can have a two-way communication like we do in these sessions, it's even more beneficial. So maybe if some participants can talk about it, the energy and the vibe that you feel when you can interact and do a live session, that is much more effective than uh, purely watching a video. So if you were to put it in a hierarchy, of course, in person, no, there's absolutely no substitute for that. If not in person, these days technology is so advanced, like we do on Zoom every day, a two-way communication, it's not a one-way communication. If not possible, then simply watch a video. If that is also not possible, read it on your own. If that is also not possible, simply take a walk and do meditate, or take long breaths. But don't do kusangs. Okay, that's the worst thing that can happen. But there's a hierarchy you can set in your mind. These are the things I would do in this particular order. So yeah, thanks for asking that.
thank you. Hemangini ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Nitinji, Radhe Radhe everyone. Procrastination. The biggest one for me was not updating my home tech. So recently I just upgraded from Windows 7 to Windows 10. I had to say farewell to my Asus laptop from 2012, and I'm learning new tech and embracing it in the hope that I can eventually do more Sewa in helping with preparation of the classes. And that is a big procrastination from
Yeah, I think it's it's
updating the tech. And also Maya. Is Maya not a good energy of God
see, Maya
as
is
well as
a
bad?
faithful servant of God. So
Mm-hmm.
when somebody is a servant, it has to serve its master. So we have
Mm-hmm.
spoken about this concept. There are three entities. One is this God has three major energies. One is the Swarupa Shakti, which is Yogamaya Shakti of God. Second is the Tatastha Shakti, the Jiva Shakti, who we are. And third is the Maya, or the Bhirangi Shakti of God, Maya. So all three energies are servants of God. They have to serve God. It's in serving that they get. And Maya is doing its job perfectly. There's nobody in this material world whom Maya is going to keep them comfortable. It's like being in a jailhouse. When you go to a jailhouse, the jailer has to trouble you, right? If they don't
Mm-hmm.
trouble you, then you will be very happy staying there only. The
Mm,
purpose of Maya is to push you towards its master, and it's doing its job.
right.
And that is why Maya will subject us to threefold miseries: Adi Devik, Adi Bhautik, Adhyatmik. Like tornadoes will come, COVID will come, people will trouble you, boss will trouble you, relatives will trouble you, your mind will trouble you, a snake can come and trouble you. So all those things will happen. Then you have to deal with old age, birth, diseases, and death. Then you have to deal with Panchaklesh, Tridosh, Tritap, Kaf, Vat, Pith, because of which disease. So all these are generals of Maya who are serving Maya and pushing you towards its master, that this is not the right place. But only when you have perspective will you be able to understand it. Otherwise, you're simply leading life, thinking, oh my God, it's not happening, or what is happening, or whatever is happening, that will continue. So yes, Maya, it's actually doing its job perfectly by pushing us towards its master if you properly understand it.
Okay, Radhe Radhe, thank you. With putting the knowledge into practice, I was at a stage where I was just constantly watching, reading, listening, hearing, and I made myself a graph within the working days, within a 24-hour clock, how much am I reading, watching, listening, and then compared it to the other side of the graph. How much of that am I implementing? So looking at that graph every day, every week, every month, I
Yes,
could
it's
see
important. Yeah, thank you,
one
man.
side increasing, but the other side where it was applying it practically, it wasn't shifting. So having that and looking at it every so
That's
often
good.
helped
Thank you.
into
It's good
put
that
it
you're
in.
reflecting around it. It said that an ounce of wisdom is better than tons of knowledge.
Mm,
So that is the key. If you
it's
simply keep
good.
on
That
acquiring
was a good
knowledge.
exercise for me.
So thank you for sharing that. Yes,
Radhe
introspection.
Radhe, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Samji.
Radhe Radhe Samji.
Radhe, my question was, isn't the Chintan and Manan the same thing, like Shraman, Manan, Nididhyasan, and
Sorry,
Moksvam?
thanks for correction. It's Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasa. Very correct. I don't know why Chintan came in. It's Shravan when you hear it, then you
Right.
contemplate it, and then your intellect says, yes, this is what it is. So thank you for
Because in your line, the equation was Chintan is equal to or more than Manan, and then it was is equal to or more than something Nididhyasan.
True. Very true. Chintan, Manan are same. It's Shravan. You start
Oh,
hearing the knowledge, then you start thinking about it and chewing over it, and then it becomes a realized knowledge. That's a third step, which is called Nididhyasana. So thank you for that correction.
thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Yes.
Yes, there is a message from Smita ji. Sorry, saying
Go ahead.
something? Okay. She says absent-minded nest. No presence of mind prevents implementing knowledge. Famous story of Newton making 3 holes for 3 cats on wall.
Okay, yeah, absent-mindedness can also do that when you are too absorbed in something. That means some other knowledge has gotten activated, right? Yes, that can be a cause for that as well. Any other thing? And please fill out the feedback tracker if you have any other things. Like we said, we are going to collecting the any stories and any things that have helped you transform things. Please document that, provide it in the feedback tracker because we will bring it during our 3-year celebration next Wednesday, 10th of January. But yes, anything that you can relate to here or want to add, please go ahead. I see Prashanta after a while. Go ahead, Prashanta. Thank you. Welcome
Yes.
back. A
Radhe Radhe Prashanta ji.
sabbatical from the Bhagavad Gita session. So welcome back.
Radhe, Radhe.
Yeah,
Thank you. The thing that I want to add is thinking about the unresolved experiences of the past, right? Those things that have gone beyond the understanding, like why did it happen, or what was the cause, why did it happen, and trying to figure out what happened wrong in the past where I think that there was none of my mistake or something like, I have not done something, but why did this happen to me, or something like that. So thinking about the unresolved experiences of the past is something that I quite dwell upon, and that has become like a hindrance,
mindset.
like a mindset, like trying to figure out, thinking about the things and events that happen in the past, right? And what if those things happen in the future? How can I deal with it? So thinking about that's the the biggest hindrance for me. So I want to add that thing to that list.
So that means,
And
yeah, the aspect is the
Mhm.
knowledge aspect of it needs to be strengthened there, right? What does the knowledge say? The power of now, the concept of surrender, all these things talk about to focus on the present, not dwell on the past or cook up anxieties and worries for the future. That means that knowledge has not become a pakka in your head as yet. That means that
Mhm.
knowledge needs to be contemplated and repeated upon. That means whatever knowledge you are reading right now, it's not tackling that issue for you. Either you have not come across this piece of knowledge, or even if you have come across this piece of knowledge, there is not enough repetition for you to know that this is an area that you really need to work on. Because if you don't work on it, you are enslaved with this mindset, and this is not doing you any good at all. Like when we
Mhm.
drive a car, the windshield is big and the rear view mirror is small. That means, what you look for in the past, that focus should be minimal. Okay, just a quick check to make sure you're driving it right. It's not like you're always looking at the rear view mirror. And when the windshield is, you need to look forward with optimism. It's not like you become paranoid that I'm going to hit something. So the key here is if there's a learning, sure, you take a learning from the past and move on. You are trying to solve an equation where there are so many variables and you have absolutely no clue about it. So what are you going to gain out of it? That kind of a thought process. Why did this happen to me? Right? One guy did a life regression. He had a heart attack and he did a life regression and he came to know that he had actually killed somebody, stabbed somebody, and that's why he had a heart attack. Now, this is one of the many puzzles that you would not know. You have had infinite lifetimes. How can you reason out with anything and everything that is happening? When Dhritarashtra asked Lord Krishna that what did he do to deserve a death of 100 sons? Right? Who is going to bear a death of 100 sons? Even one is so painful. What did he do?
Mm-hmm.
Because he had the boon of going back lifetimes back. He said, I don't see. Krishna said, go back in your previous life. He said, I don't see anything. He said, go back one more. He said, I don't see anything. He said, go back one more. He said, I don't see anything. He said, go back one more. He said, oh, I don't have that ability. He said, 50 lifetimes back, you had killed swans, peaceful swans who were sitting there, signet, they call it, right? And then he
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, if that is the case, why did not you give me the result in the next lifetime? He said, first of all, you had to had acquire enough merit or punya to beget 100 progeny, 100 sons. So the law of karma is very complex and we have had infinite lifetimes. If you spend time thinking about any and every event and just relate it to your present, oh, I've not done anything bad to anybody and why did this happen to me? How will you solve that equation? It's a very naive thought process and a waste of time. Rather than that, if there is a learning, you move forward and approach things which would really truly help you. What's the point of worrying about something that has already happened, right? Which is beyond your control and so many factors are at play. So think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then how can we take any learnings out of it and become better for our future lives? Because you can't solve this equation so easily just by thinking and worrying. And when you worry, you may be manifesting your reality. You are maybe creating your reality, a test for yourself, unnecessary when you worry. So we got to be really careful about the thoughts that we bring to our head. So best approach is be optimistic and focus on the things at hand rather than unnecessary speculating something in future which may or may not happen. So that's a little bit of a look at it. I hope it makes sense.
Oh, thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Okay.
Yes, Aparna ji, and then Pratusha.
And there's also a question in the chat from Kumarji.
Okay.
Is annadan of non-vegetarian food pap or punya?
So in non-vegetarian cases, scriptures say 6 people incur sin. The one who kills, the one who cuts, the one who sells, the one who prepares, the one who serves, the one who eats. I hope it answers. Now, is it the proportion 1 6 1 6 1 6? I don't know. But the scriptures say all 6 incur sin. It's very simple.
Okay. Aparna ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yes.
Radhe Radhe. I just wanted to share a couple of things. In this world, we have to live with the people, get help from them, maintain relationship, even if we don't, keep like entertaining or throwing parties or anything. Actually, I'm not a party person, don't have a lot of friends, but
I know that basic
I'm
party,
bad.
right? Maintaining that. I get that.
I'm actually bad with keeping constant touch with friends and family. I don't regret that. I'm okay with that. I don't miss anything. But sometimes when I want to share any good spiritual messages or wisdom, or even for fundraising and all, I can't seem to progress because I don't keep constant relation with people. So just wanted to share my dilemma.
See, for us to if we let's say we want to build connects for a good reason, we don't need to over invest in part of it. You can still manage it. See, you have to, it's a trade-off, right? So you look at the pros and cons of every friend that you add in your life is like maintaining a factory. How many factories one can maintain in life, right? So if you think about it, how much emotions, time, things we have invested for this world and all that unnecessary socializing and gossiping around, if we had spent even 1% of that thinking about God, who's your eternal relative and your true well-wisher, where we would have reached. So we keep on wasting it. So we really have to think, are we doing it for our pleasure or do we have a big picture in mind? If you have a big picture in mind, you'll optimize your interactions as well. You will not unnecessarily indulge that I have to go to my friend's brother's cousin's uncle's son's wedding. You will not go, you'll not bother about that too much. So we need to optimize that aspect because our mind is very smart. It find ways and justifies it as well, right? So if you're enjoying that company or we want to just maintain it for the sake of something bigger, that's a call you have to take, but time is limited. How much time we want to invest in what activity, I think again that has to be very sorted out in our head because we only have 24 hours in a day, right? And
That's true.
the
That's true.
unnecessary
Thank you.
exposure to the world is also not good for us.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. Thank you. And also, I wanted to share one more incident. I was telling you about how I try to keep the knowledge on the top of my mind. Just yesterday, an incident happened. It was like again high school days, with my college kids at home. So I was in such deep panic, and then then I tried to calm down and try to remember God and take His name. And I told Him that, like His wish is, my wish, and everything was okay. It's just that even now the knowledge skips, and
It will, it
we
does.
go into deep panic.
It's not easy to retain that or pull it out of your hat when you need it. But when we do sufficient contemplation, see in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, I only become, sit in your mind and become that knowledge, realized knowledge. So we definitely need to tap into his grace. But for that, we have to put in our effort as well. Okay, we cannot absolve ourselves from our effort and count only on the grace aspect of it. God helps those who help themselves. So that grace aspect will definitely come. And that is the only way a knowledge can become wisdom in us. It is only God who can make that happen. In fact, even Arjun tells Krishna that, after he listens to that entire message, he says, Tat prasadat param. That means with your grace now I have understood. He's not saying because of my effort alone. So he only will make it happen, but then you have to do your bit. And then the magic will start unfolding. Thank you, Parnaji, for sharing that. Yes, Pratusha, go ahead, please. Monica ji, you're smiling. I think you have a question too today.
Radhe Radhe Pratusha ji.
Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. My question is, like, what I would like to add is lack of proper guidance can also be an impediment. Like, if you are doing a Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan, so even for Nididhyasan, we need that. Like, I had a doubt that I asked my the teacher that taught me Bhagavad Gita. I read in the Chaitanya Charnamrit that this Sayujya Mukti is known as spiritual suicide. And he taught us the Advait, the thing. So I asked him, and then he said that he's busy. He'll tell later. But I never got the answer until actually you came in and you told that after that also there are stages, the bhakti stages and the God realization. So that is where I got that answer. So that lack of proper guidance or that is very important in that
Very true.
journey. And about complacency, I think what I practice is I identify with my ignorance. Like every time I read something, I realize something new, and I know okay, this is, and you also keep telling me we can never say that we know everything. We don't know. So just if you identify with that ignorance, then you will learn a lot. Keep learning, keep understanding.
True.
So that yeah, and one more like I used to in Bhagavad Gita, there are 18 types of yogas that Shri Krishna is talking about. And in the Arjun Vishad Yoga, I always used to think, how come Vishad is yoga? Arjun Vishad, I never understood. But very recently I understood that even when you are in that state, where you are sad, if you're remembering God, that is yoga. So best thing. So most of, anywhere in all kind of situations we can remember God, and that's yoga.
True. In fact, Bhagavad Gita says, right, Vishad is one of the triggers for a lot of people to take to the spirituality, because Krishna is saying that Chatur Vidha Bhajante Mam Yojana Paryupasate Jigyasu Arto Arti and Jnani. So Arto, it means one who is troubled by the world. Some tragedy happened in life and now, okay, only God is there. Or I need this, and then I need to go to God. Okay, I need to get married, I need a son, I need this, and then you go to God. Most of the people go to temple for that only. Third was a genuinely curious person who wants to know the deeper secrets of life. And fourth is a jnani who's already on this path and going next stage on the path of spirituality. So all four of people here. So Arto, that Vishad is a stepping stone towards having that spark as well, and it works for most of the people. In fact, if you are in spirituality, the first question that people will ask, okay, what happened to you? Okay, what happened? Did your girlfriend leave you? People used to ask on as well. Or did your boss fire you? Or something good is not happening in your life? This is the first question people ask, as if some tragedy has to happen and then only you'll take to this path, right? This is a common misconceptions people have around this thing. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
I have one question that
Mhm.
I've been thinking. We generally in the like, suppose somebody is in physical pain, like somebody fell down, we can just console them, we can understand, we can be with them. But then when we realize the problem is their thinking, but then still the other person want us to understand them, and we are kind of understand that it is that that wrong way of thinking. How do we associate with such a thought
Yeah, I
process,
mean,
and how to console?
yeah, some people have to be ready, right, for you to even be talking about these deeper things. Sometimes people, they just need a leaning shoulder, a crying shoulder to lean on. But depending upon the kind of relationship you have, I mean, I would give them that shoulder sparingly, and at the same time give them a food for thought as well. How about this? How about that? Have you thought about this? So it's important to give them that. Otherwise, what will happen is that habit will only magnify over time, and you're truly not helping them, right? And they're not being helped. So as a good friend, it's important to challenge some of their thought process to the best of appetite. They should have an appetite as well for that. Even if they don't have, there's no harm in challenge. We don't know what might click to them. It's important to challenge them rather than saying yes to everything. Yeah, you know what, a lot of people, they keep on playing victim card in their life. Bad has happened, this has happened, the whole world is after me, everybody's conspiring against me, and my life is a mess and all that stuff. And if you keep on saying, yeah, 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 then that habit will never go away. It just becomes a mindset after a while. So it's important to challenge them. How about you thinking this way? How about you taking control of your life? How about you looking at the way you're doing? So look at that and challenge them. That might help them actually. But yeah, it doesn't help to give them that shoulder sparingly, because they just need that at times. But again, your time is of essence, right? So don't make it a habit, because otherwise they'll always find your shoulder and you'll not get time to do Radhe Radhe, right? So yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Patusha, good questions like always. Yes, Swati ji. Swati ji, you are on mute. You're talking on mute, probably.
Oh yeah, so Radhe Radhe Swati ji.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Is it? I was trying to unmute. I was not able to unmute. Okay.
Fine.
I wanted to say 2 points in this regarding this topic. First is that third point, not enough repetition. That ego had come in me also, that I have listened many times. There's many video of Maharaji and Swamiji. What to listen, same thing again and again, the same thing they are going to say. But initially, when I came in this 1 year after, I came to know the no repetition daily. We have to listen, even though we know it. We should listen it. That is the ego was coming in between, and then I was like, I know everything. Now I can give this knowledge to everybody. So that slowly with Swamiji, that ego also went down, and now I am like, I have to listen that. Repetition से वो पक्का हो जाएगा. निधि दर्शन के stage पे we need to repeat that again and again. And second point, that everybody in the family like started saying, क्या तेरा एज अभी इतना थोड़ी हो गया, you're not old enough to go on this path. ये राधे राधे करने का, इतना ये करने का, why it's not needed. But I didn't say anything because I don't want to get in arguments or say anything to them. I said that there is no age to learn Bhagavad Gita. We can learn at any age. And then I kept quiet and keep on my spiritual path.
That's the way to go, because people will
Yeah.
always find something or other, right? You're going to become Baba now, you're going to become sannyasi, and all that stuff will come. So you can only expect that. You can laugh it off after a while in your heart. Don't pick up fights with them, otherwise, they will make it difficult for you. So we do it silently. It's a personal business. It's nobody else's business, and we can manage it smartly. So when you start progressing spiritually, you become worldly wise as well. You just know how to deal much better with the world around and not picking up fights with them. So
And there is a comment from Abhaji. Before giving advice, I always remember Krishna.
So that's very nice. It's very good way of doing that, because say, Krishna, bless me with the wisdom, so and set on my tongue, so that the words have the desired impact on my audience. That's a very good prayer actually, because it's only Krishna who can make that connection, if it has to help that person and use us as an instrument if need be. It's a good prayer.
So yes,
Bhabaji,
we can.
need to connect. I think you have a few questions, so I'm keeping note of that. So we will connect maybe tomorrow if or something. We'll go through all the questions. Okay, are we good, or any other questions are there? Please fill out the feedback tracker. Put down those stories and stuff if you have, that we can bring to our third year celebrations. But any other questions, or we are good? We can move to our native desert section, where we have Sumiran, that chanting or the bhajan will take maybe 3 people today. Or any more
So
questions?
can I make announcements quickly, Nitinji?
Right.
So we have family camp coming up in Dallas, Radhakrishna Temple. That's the annual event with Swamiji present in person. So the registration is open, and I think 30% discount is still there. So please check that out and do register. Not to be missed opportunity. There is a Shivir with Swamiji coming up in India in Tirupati, which is from January 26 to 29th. So check that out as well. You can register for it both online and offline. And what just Nitinji mentioned, which is that we have the 3rd-year anniversary coming for Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita session. On January 10th, we will be celebrating. So as part of that, it would be amazing if the participants can share their experience, learnings, any exciting story, analogy, shloka that has really helped transform your life. Whatever learnings you have had from the class, we can compile it beautifully, and then we all can learn from each other's learnings. So please either send that in the feedback tracker, or you can also share your videos. We have put the links where you can upload the videos in the chats.
Please do.
So
I don't want to be the only person talking on that day, so it will be good if we have more diversity, and it just makes for a much more exciting, engaging session then. So please do that. We still have time. So Monica ji, are you going to swing your team into action, the enthusiastic team? In fact, all the Seva teams, it's a good opportunity for you to participate in this and get some brownie points around it as well.
yes, thanks for reminding that. Yeah, so actually, Seva teams can come up with some quick, short presentation about their journey in the Bhagavad Gita, and that can fetch them brownie points, bonus points. So it's up to you guys. We are just announcing it. Okay. And then, so we can now, I can start sharing the screen for Samiran Karle Mana.
Sure. So let's move to our chanting segment now. We can take 3 hands like we always do, and then wrap up the session in another 5-6 minutes.
Nitinji, would you like to sing? Yesterday we couldn't hear you sing, so.
I'll first have 2 other hands, and then let me get into the mindset of.
So should I, or are there any hands, or?
Okay, go ahead. If no hands are there, we'll go ahead.
Okay.
And I think you'll set the tone and the tune. That way we can follow.
यह जग माया का बना मना, जाना होगा घर सजना, जग में ना कोई अपना, एक दिन होगा तजना, सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमणा.
Very nice. Thank you. Swati ji, you want to go next, and then I can go.
Yes, Swati ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना, यह जग माया का मना, जाना होगा घर सजना, जग में न कोई अपना, एक दिन होगा तजना, सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
So let me be the third person for the day then. यह जग माया का मना, जाना होगा घर सजना, जग में ना कोई अपना, एक दिन होगा तजना, सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना. Okay, these are very profound lines. So this world is Mayaka. Mayaka, Mayaka. Okay, Mayaka is a word used in Hindi as well, which is paternal, girl's parental house. So Mayaka, that's kind of coincidence, right? Mayaka. And you will have to go to the house of your beloved. So our true home is what we are trying to walk each other to, which is going back to the Godhead or God's abode. So we are walking each other home. That is our true home. This is all a facade and kind of a drama that we are participating in right now, thinking it to be real, but it is unreal. Right? Our parents will change, our relatives will change, every association will change, and only relation which is truly going to accompany us is going to be God and Guru for that matter. Okay, nobody else will accompany us. Whomever you consider in this world as yours, and look at, just bring all the images to your mind. They are not going to accompany you. They are all temporary associates, and we have changed those associates across lifetimes, and we will keep changing those until we become God realized. The only Sambandhi, only true relative is God, and that is what this bhajan is saying. So pretty profound. Great. Anybody wants to say anything? Closing comments for the day?
There are comments from in the chat. Regarding the bhajan, Manisha ji says beautiful lines, and Hemangini ji say mirage, like you're talking about this world is not real, so mirage. And okay, yeah, I think that is it.
Okay, so I'm just going through the chat. Who's this Zoom user? Okay. Okay. So there's a Zoom user, okay, who keeps on sending interesting messages to me. That Zoom user sometimes becomes iPhone. Sometimes somebody, actually it is none other than a participant, our own participant. Her name is Samyukta. If she shows up one day, we can probably ask her what is her ongoing thing that is going on. So she's sending me abuses after abuses. I don't know what's going on. It's becoming very more comedy of errors now. But just want to call out, maybe we can check out on her what's going on. If you need help, more than happy to help you. But don't waste your energy, sending messages to everyone. I think we have stopped chat for everyone. That's why we're not seeing it. But I see that I feel like, it's more, I feel sorry basically for her. I mean, if you're struggling with something, please do let us know. I think some of us can help you, or you can help yourself. But it's pointless to waste your energy like this, in feedback trackers, over the chats or over the emails. Every second day I get an email. If I publish that email here, you'll see, I mean, how can somebody get so bitter, and struggle even though they are subscribing to this knowledge on a daily basis? So that's another impediment. You get this knowledge, but because you subscribe to your lower nature, you refuse to get out of it. That is another an impediment, because our mind is made up of material energy. That is what this beautiful bhajan is saying as well. So what happens is it naturally likes to get drawn towards the lower energies aspect of it. And if we keep feeding it, we'll draw more of it. So anyways, nevertheless, anybody who wants to say anything, or we are good to wrap up. Again, thank you again for your enthusiastic participation. We'll continue. Tomorrow is, by the way, it's a quiz day, right, for us?
Yes.
All the best to all the participants, and our quiz masters are ready, I believe, for tomorrow. So I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow then. Thank you again. Radhe Radhe, good night, good day from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nitinji. And once again, looking forward to your inputs for our third anniversary celebrations. So do chime in and see you all tomorrow for the Kahoot. Radhe Radhe. Good night, good day.
Have a good night, good day. Bye.